Should I bulk first or should I cut first? One of the most common questions that I get through my website is, Brad, what should I do? Should I bulk first or should I cut? As someone that was once a skinny fat guy back in pretty much all of my 20s, and I'll show you some photos up on your screen, that managed to get super shredded, I know exactly how frustrating being skinny fat is, and I had this exact same question myself when I first started my journey. So in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to figure out whether you should bulk or cut first, coming up. Welcome to my channel. It's Brad from bradnewtonfitness.com. Let's jump straight into the question. Should you bulk first or should you cut first? As someone who's a skinny fat. Now, as some of you know, if you're subscribed to the channel, I was once a skinny fat guy myself. For almost all of my 20s, I was a skinny fat guy, skinny arms, skinny chest, love handles, bit of a belly. And I had the same question myself. Do I bulk first or do I cut first? Do I build the muscle on my arms because I hated my skinny arms, I had nothing on my arms, and build out my chest and then cut, or do I then cut my belly fat and my love handles first and then look at bulking later on? I made a separate video on my own skinny fat transformation. I'll link up that video around this video somewhere. I actually explain in a bit more detail how I overcame my own skinny fat dilemma. So go and check out that video after this one. But before we jump into the question, whether you should bulk first or cut first, we're up to episode 6, 16th of May, 2022. And in episode 5, we had 1 subscriber. Now, it's been a while since I've made a video on this channel. We now have 2,621 subscribers on the channel. Welcome to the new faces. Let's get straight into the question. Should you bulk first or cut first as a skinny fat guy? The first thing to consider before looking at these 2 questions here, which we'll talk about in just a second, body recomposition. If you are just starting your fitness journey, never been to the gym, never been on a proper lifting program, or you've been to the gym but you've never really taken it seriously, you have less than 3, 4, 5, 6 months of training experience, then consider a body recomposition first. I will link up an article down below. I explain a body recomposition in more detail. It's not for this video. I'll make a separate video on a body recomposition later. But essentially with a body recomp is you're essentially building muscle and losing fat simultaneously. The way to go about doing that is typically you maintain a very slight calorie deficit. You keep your protein nice and high and you lift heavy in the gym. Have patience, get enough rest, hydration, put those things together and you will eventually achieve a body recomp, but then that quickly dissipates. That will quickly fade after around 6 months. Then after that, you have to make a clear-cut decision, bulk versus cut. So consider this body recomp. If you're not eligible for a body recomp, then you need to think about the first question, which is what is your main goal right now? So when you're bulking, just a quick recap, you're eating more calories than what your body needs every day to maximize building muscle and strength in the gym, right? So the big pro there is you build maximum amounts of muscle, maximum amounts of strength, you feel amazing in the gym, your workouts are powerful, you're hitting all these personal bests in the gym. The downside to a bulk is that you will gain a little bit of fat in the process. Typically around 10 to 15% of your weight gain during a bulk will be from fat. There's flies around here, will be from fat gain, all right? And about 80% of your gain in weight will go toward muscle. So the big downfall to bulk is that when you take your shirt off and go to the beach, and I'll show you some photos of what my bulk look like, is that you look plump, right? You don't see any muscle definition, you just look big. Now, if that is your main goal, you want to build maximum amounts of muscle and strength and hit personal bests in the gym, then consider a bulk. If your main goal now is to get shredded, to feel the effects of being shredded right now, or you have an anniversary or a wedding or some kind of special event coming up in the immediate future, then maybe consider cutting right now. It does mean that your workouts won't be as powerful in the gym, you won't be hitting as many personal bests, you just won't feel as strong in the gym, okay? That's the first question to ask. The second question, which is the most important question, is what is your current body fat percentage? approximately, what is your current body fat percentage? If you don't know what that is, that's fine. I will give you some charts. I'll throw some charts up on the screen for men and for women. This is what I used when I first started my journey years ago. I looked at the chart for men and I compared my body at the time with the chart, and I determined what my approximate body fat percentage was. I've also used different measurement methods like body fat calipers, DEXA scans, and those kinds of things, which I'll talk about in an article down below or in another video. But all you need to do, just compare yourself to the body fat percentage chart to figure out your current body fat percentage. Then look at this table over here. We have guys and gals, bulk versus cut. Now, if you're a guy and you're sitting at around 10 to 13% body fat, then bulk. If your primary goal is to maximize building muscle, building strength, and achieve personal bests in the gym, that's going to be where you start first, bulking. If, as a guy, you're around 17 to 20% body fat, then you're going to start cutting. And then you're going to continue cutting until you get to around 10 to 13% body fat, and then you're going to make a decision. You're going to make a decision based on how you look in the mirror. So this is what I did. I looked at myself in the mirror after my first cut and I was not happy. I did not like the way I looked. So I got to around 10 to 13%. I looked myself in the mirror and said, I do not like that. I don't have any muscle on my frame. So I decided that I'm going to bulk again. So I immediately switched to a bulk. I bulked up to around 17 to 20% body fat. In fact, it was around 16.5% body fat, thereabouts from memory. And then I'll show you that photo of what I looked like at 16 to 17% body fat. Obviously, there's no muscle definition. I put on a little bit of fat, which is completely normal when you're going through a bulk process. And then, of course, I decided to cut. I started to cut around 17%, got down to around 10 to 13%, and then I made another decision. I looked at myself in the mirror and said, am I going to compete? Do I want to do my first bodybuilding competition, or do I just want to maintain what I've worked really hard to achieve? So at that time, I made a decision to cut further to below 10% body fat, and then I went on to compete, and then I won my first amateur bodybuilding competition with no steroids or performance enhancing drugs whatsoever. So massive achievement. That's essentially what I did with how I used this table to figure out my bulks and cuts. I simply used my body fat percentage to navigate when I should start bulking and cutting and that kind of thing. Now, I won't go into the reasons why I've picked these numbers specifically. I find that from my own experience and everything I've read over the years, especially when it comes to health, as a guy, 17 to 20% body fat, when you sort of are beyond 17 to 20% body fat, then there's more health implications involved, right? Relating to your hormones and relating to insulin sensitivity, which I talk about in articles on my website. I'm not going to talk about that now. Just all you need to know is that the more body fat you have on your body, the more negatively it impacts your ability to build muscle, lose fat. And of course, there are health implications related to having excess amounts of body fat, which I talk about on my website. Typically for girls, if you're around 18 to 20% body fat, you would start bulking if you want to add some muscle to your frame. And then when you get to around 25 to 27% body fat, you'll start cutting as a girl. And then when you get back to around 18, 20% body fat, you'll make a similar kind of decision. Do I want to compete in my first bikini model competition, or do I just want to maintain this body that I've got and run down the beach with a brand new two-piece bikini or whatever it is? Now, that's pretty much all there is to it. Now, keep in mind that this is a starting point. I've put that here very, very clearly, is that even if you are bulking, if you choose to bulk or cut first, most people require 2 to 3 bulks and cuts to eventually realize their physique goals. For me personally, I did around 2 to 3 bulks and cuts before I eventually got to a place in my body right now where I'm relatively maintaining what I've achieved. I am trying to get stronger in the gym. I'm doing different exercises. I'm doing obviously Muay Thai kickboxing over the last couple of years. So I've taken up more combat sports and performance-based goals. The point is that this is a starting point. Don't overthink whether you should bulk or cut first. Understand that if you're just like me, how I was in my 20s, that this is the beginning of a journey. You will bulk first or cut first, and then eventually you'll probably end up having to switch it and do that 2 or 3 times eventually until you get to a point where you maintain your physique. That's pretty much all there is to it. Now, down below, I will link up at the moment as I film this video. I just released a book on Kindle on how to get six-pack abs, which is essentially a body transformation book. Go and check out that book. It's for guys. I explain this stuff in a little bit more detail as well. I'll link up some articles and my website down below. If you have any questions, let me know. Hope this was helpful, and I'll see you in episode 7.